Did you know that some of the famous superhero characters from Marvel Comics' Avengers series have been voiced by anywhere from 15 to 20 different actors each? Yeah, you thought Goku had problems. Captain America, Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, and Thor alone have had a huge number of different actors portraying them, dating all the way back to the 60s on the Marvel Superheroes show. This first animated series featured quite a few legendary actors, comedians, radio personalities, and a few of them, in fact, even went on to do further notable work for other Marvel productions. John Vernon, who voiced Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, in Marvel's Superheroes show, would later go on to voice Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange in the 1994 Fantastic Four and Spider-Man cartoons, respectively. He also previously voiced Hulk antagonist Major Glenn Talbot, and then ironically years later took on the role of Talbot's superior, General Thunderbolt Ross, in the 1996 Hulk animated series. That's 30 whole years since his work on the first Marvel animated show. Paul Soules, also famously known as the voice of Hermie the Elf in the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Christmas special, voiced Bruce Banner and Clint Hawkeye Barton, then only a short year later went on to voice the title character of Spider-Man in the 1966 series. Also, if you've ever happened to see those two live-action Captain America movies from the late 70s, one of the scientists allied with Captain, Dr. Simon Mills, was played by Len Birman, who a decade before was the Marvel version of Hercules in the Marvel Superhero show. That not enough of a cool story for you, bro? Well, Len Carlson, the first actor to portray Marvel baddies Quicksilver and Loki, played Green Goblin a year later in Spider-Man, then 30 years later played Senator Robert Kelly in the much-loved 90s X-Men animated series.
What have you got for brains? Pumpkin seeds? I'll cut off your current for good, you!
This shocking incident at New Salem Mall is just part of the growing menace of mutant violence.
It wasn't until many years later that the Avengers as a team got a new animated series all together as a group. But in the 90s, a few Capcom games featuring a whole host of Marvel characters featured some prominent voice performances that gamers will know quite well. Many of the X-Men characters were played by their actors from the animated series recorded up in Toronto a few years prior. In fact, Cal Dodd, who reprised as Wolverine for the Capcom Vs. games in the 90s, also played Captain America.
Berserker Barrage! Ah! Drill Claw! Let's go, bub. Stars and Stripes! Charging Star! Final Justice! Freedom prevails! Good work, soldier!
One of the actors in these games, Rob Wilson, who voiced Venom, would eventually carry over to the 1999 series The Avengers United They Stand, as the voice of the lead character, Ant-Man. This was a radically different series that featured a number of characters folks might have not been as familiar with at the time. The United They Stand series featured characters like Falcon, Wasp, Vision, and Hawkeye, several of which took years before they rose to their current mainstream popularity. This series featured quite a few actors heard previously in the X-Men series. Tigra was voiced by Lenore Zann, Rogue, Vision was voiced by Ron Rubin, Morph, Ultron was played by John Stalker, Leech, Moonstone was played by Susan Roman, Scarlet Witch and Callisto, and Hawkeye was played by Tony Daniels, Gambit. Oh, and for the anime fans, a bunch of you might recognize these folks as some characters from Sailor Moon. In fact, Sailor Moon herself, Linda Valentine, voiced Wasp in this series.
Hank, we helped form the Avengers, and don't you forget that. You are as qualified to lead us as anyone.
Moving to the next series, literally, the villain character Kang the Conqueror was played by Len Kramer in United They Stand, and he would go on to play an elderly version of Bruce Banner in the movie Next Avengers Heroes of Tomorrow, just under a decade later. This was during the early to late 2000s where Marvel produced a large number of animated movies featuring different superhero characters and combinations thereof. Examples include the two Ultimate Avengers movies based off the comics of the same name, the Hulk vs. movies, and other individual films on some particular Avengers. Then in 2010, another fan-favorite series, The Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, was released and aired on Disney XD, featuring a team of characters derived from when the man, Stan Lee himself, was writing Avengers. Around this time, a few actors were very heavily established as the most consistent and de facto voices for some particular Marvel characters, including Fred Tatasciore as the Incredible Hulk and Steve Blum as Wolverine. This series also featured Rick Wasserman as Thor, Brian Blum as Captain America, Chris Cox as Hawkeye, Wally Wingert as Hank Pym, James Mathis as Black Panther, Colleen O'Shaughnessy as Wasp, and Eric Loomis as Iron Man, reprising the role from a video game based on the first Iron Man movie, where he voice matched Robert Downey Jr.
Jarvis, they're after the data spine. Get Rhodey on the line and give him our position. Rhodey, I'm at the data spine. That's their sole target. The rest of this attack is a ruse.
Worth noting that a few actors that appeared in this show, Roger Craig Smith as Captain Marvel, Troy Baker as Michael Korvac, and Bumper Robinson as War Machine, would a few years later go on to voice main characters Captain America, Hawkeye, and Falcon, respectively, in the series currently airing, Avengers Assemble. This series also starred Adrian Pasdar as Tony Stark, who reprised the character from the Marvel anime series focusing on Iron Man. Travis Willingham, who had previously played some cutesy versions of a few characters in the Marvel Superhero Squad show, went on to play the role of Thor, with his wife Laura Bailey taking the role of Black Widow. And Fred Tatasciore continued playing Hulk, making him one of the longest-running and consistent actors to play a single character over multiple incarnations and mediums, in games, movies, and TV shows. In fact, Fred even got the chance to play Bruce Banner himself in an episode of Avengers Assemble.
Hulk smash, little man! Little man, leave Hulk alone!
Do the powers make the man, or does the man make the power? Because no matter what Stark says, I'm the smartest there is.
Interestingly, in this series, a few actors from Earth's Mightiest Heroes returned to voice some totally different characters, interacting with the ones they formerly played. Examples include Brian Blum moving from Captain America to Hyperion, Chris Cox moving from Hawkeye to Star-Lord, Nika Futterman moving from Hela to Gamora, and James Mathis moving from Black Panther to Heimdall, who was previously played by J.B. Blanc and then moved to Mangog. Also, Dave Bode, who played Thor in the Marvel Superhero Squad show, got the chance to play the Thing from Fantastic Four in Avengers Assemble. Sounding convoluted? Well, Marvel has strived to keep the current cast of the Avengers characters as consistent as possible. Many of the actors voiced in the main cast of this series have carried over to the Ultimate Spider-Man and Hulk and the Agents of S.M.A.S.H. series, airing alongside Avengers Assemble, and they've even gotten to continue voicing these same heroes in LEGO Marvel productions and mobile games based on the newest live-action films. But just to make things more confusing, interesting, there's also been a number of voice actors that have played multiple Marvel characters, sometimes all entirely different heroes and villains, and even multiple members of the Avengers. Kari Wahlgren has voiced Emma Frost, Magma, Enchantress, Jane Foster, Maria Hill, and Susan Storm. David Kaye has been Supreme Intelligence, Captain America, Nick Fury, Electro, Daredevil, Jarvis, and Iron Man. Cam Clarke has been Piledriver, Captain Ultra, Doc Samson, Mr. Fantastic, Thor, Daredevil, Electro, and Dr. Octopus. James Arnold Taylor has been Samuel Stearns, Pasdar, Bucky, Thor, Magneto, Iceman, Mysterio, Peter Parker, and Harry Osborn. And Fred Tatasciore, in addition to being the most consistent voice of Hulk, has also been Full Stack, Thunderball, Thing, Doctor Doom, Carnage Beast, Juggernaut, Sabretooth, Magneto, and even Obadiah Stane being a vocal match for Jeff Bridges. And one last funny little tidbit. David Hayter, known for voicing Solid Snake from the Metal Gear Solid series, voiced Steve Rogers, Captain America, in a 90s Spider-Man cartoon, and he later returned to voice Cap in the X-Men Evolution series.
Colonel, listen to me. I found a parachute near the wreckage of the Hind.
Everybody, calm down. We've got to figure out what's going on.
Thanks for watching. This video was inspired by Did You Know Gaming, so go check out their channel and watch all their videos about gaming trivia. Special thanks to Omahdon for the audio mastering, The Legend of Renegade for the music, BehindTheVoiceActors.com for all the audio samples, and Motley Fool for all the insightful comic book info. If you like this video, go check out some of her other ones. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because we'll be back next week with Did You Know Voice Acting Marvel Part 2. See you then.